that way these people that are now logging in know there we are now live. So,
exciting.
Welcome. I have some wonderful people with us here. Lisa Eklund, I'm going to put the panel over to her. She has helped me out so much in preparing this discussion. I'm frankly really, really excited about not only this discussion on our labor needs, but our training. I'm excited about the possibilities of where this can go and what we need to do in the future. Really want to make this a very practical discussion, that we have some clear ideas of how we want to move this conversation forward. And as Ophelia said, look for those innovations, those connections, the partnerships, the collaborations that we can do, really help out and help in our labor and our training. So with that, Lisa, I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, everybody it's been such an amazing session. Everybody that has presented, and I think one of the great takeaways was in the last one, where they were speaking about having an advocacy group for when they go to have housing, because the NIMBYs always show up and it's always the other side that doesn't. So I'm really hopeful that today we'll get some really good information from a really diverse group of people within the construction industry, whether it be educators, labor unions, or some of our merit shop owners that we have with us today. So with that said, we've got an hour. As Karen mentioned before, if you, it's being recorded, so you've got your buttons for your mic. If you're not speaking, please shut that off. And if you want to have your icon, there's the camera there at the side too. With that said, I'm going to be taking some notes of all the great information we're going to get and be able to report that back to home. So with that said, I thought we would go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves and answer that question. Do we have the skill?
Lisa, just one moment, because we are missing a few people around our table.
Okay.
So if you are supposed to be participating kind of on stage on this talk, Lori Bennett, I know you're there, Mercy Uria, Anthony, anyway, any of you, click your My Talks button and then start my talk. Session, start my talk, and then you'll be back to the studio page. Okay, and we're going to continue, but hopefully you can join us. Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, so if we can go around the room and hopefully as we go, more people join in with us. Give us an introduction and a few who you are, where you're at, and answer that question. Do we have the skilled labor needed for the construction industry? With that, why don't we go ahead and start with Doug?
Okay, I'm Douglas Sawyer, Executive Vice President for Associated and Builders Southern California chapter. We're located down here in Anaheim. To answer the question in a nutshell, do we have skilled labor needed for the construction demand right now? No, we do not. A lot of factors involved with that. We need skilled journeymen, not just journeymen, but skilled journeymen, those who know what they're doing and how to do it the correct, safe way. In order to get skilled journeymen, you have to have skilled apprentices. You have to have those who have gone through an apprenticeship program that is certified either through the state and or the federal government. That is part of the problem. Later, I'm assuming that Lisa will get into why we have the skilled labor shortages or.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it would be a great idea if we just go around the room, gave that brief introduction like you just did, Doug, answer that question. Then that way we all know who's in the room with us. And yes, we're opening it up then to a conversation once we got everybody introduced. So
Okay.
Why don't you go then, Tom?
Oh, okay, it's me. Hi, I'm Tom Vasella. I am recently retired as a community college CTE administrator. Before that, I was a community college instructor and also a high school instructor in construction technology. And at this moment, I'm working with College of the Canyons now to establish a construction technology program. The answer, and I'll just follow Doug with a short one, no, we don't have enough trained and skilled people to go ahead and meet the demand. Nothing else to follow. You don't even talk about it. We just say no because we know there's more coming, Doug.
I know. I told Karen this was coming. Miss Lori Bennett, why don't you go next? Lori Bennett?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good, because I didn't know if I had a mic on. Oh, I can't filter my background.
Oh my God, look at your office.
I just got off a Zoom call with my Rotary Club, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. All of a sudden, I see my background. My name is Lori Bennett, and I have a family business. My brothers and mother, and well, my mother and father started it. We are here located in Ventura County, where our headquarters is in Ventura, and I have an interesting setup. We're considered double-breasted, which would be a union shop as well as an open or merit shop.
Why don't you guys keep talking amongst yourselves? I'm trying to find out where everybody else is at.
Yeah.
I'm sending them texts and phone calls right now. I'm going to put myself on mute. I may have to yell at them.
You know, Lisa, why don't you carry on the conversation with these? Because
Okay.
And I will work on that.
Okay. Perfect.
I think Dora will be joining us pretty soon.
Okay.
So this is when you throw the party and nobody shows up?
Right.
Hey, we are the party. I told them that, Lori, before you jumped on.
I didn't realize we had to go backstage. I didn't think that I had a VIP pass.
You do, though.
I just read the instructions.
We're all special.
You know, there always has to be one smart ass in the group, doesn't there? You know what? Lori's really good. I was telling Karen, if you want to give something to someone, have them read it and respond to it, send it to Lori. She will read it and she'll actually do something with it.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go ahead and throw shade on you there, Lori. I was just having fun, as it were. And yes, I am the genius posterior in the group. That's all I have to say.
You know what? While we're waiting for other people to come in while Karen's doing that, can you, Tom, talk about a little bit about the program that's out there at College of the Canyons? I was doing research for Dave Teasdale, and I jumped on that website, and I saw all the great classes, even including surveying that they had out there.
So College of the Canyons has, and by the way, the reason I'm with them is that at one time, another job I had was I was director of CTE for College of the Canyons. So that's how I made that connection. We started that construction technology program. So they have two phases to the construction education, if you will. One is construction management, along with a surveying. And this is one that allows you to go ahead and get your license, surveyor's license, and then a construction technology program, which is going to be revamped during this time frame. So the construction management is a long time, well-established program, but it's meant as the next step for construction managers. Whereas a construction technology, we're looking at the initial step, the tradespeople, the craft training, if you will, in construction technology. So that's what those two focuses are. Now, what we would love is we'd love our students to go through, get construction technology training, get those skills, work, and then continue in through construction management. That would be cool. But we have multiple exits and off-ramps on our pathway. I'll use that as educational terms.
Wow. I like that. How far away is College of the Canyons from San Fernando?
20 minutes.
Okay.
It's pretty right down to 5. It's real close.
Okay. Because Doug was just saying, you were saying, Doug, that they just started a program down in is it San Fernando?
Yeah, we have two campuses. We have our campus here in Anaheim. That's the main hub. But we also have a 30,000 square foot facility in San Fernando for our LA Ventura office.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
Mhm.
great.
sure.
Hi,
Tom
Dora.
and Doug,
Hello,
Yes.
Tom and Doug,
Hear
how
me?
much
Can you hear me?
coordination is there, cooperation in terms of activities, training, material, is between the different, education training centers, like with Ralph over here, and a few others,
Are you talking about coordination on Doug's side of things, or coordination between educational
Right.
institutions and other training entities, if you will?
Both.
Okay, well, um, educators traditionally have been a very difficult group to work with. And we have not always seen eye to eye because of the way educators have come into education, especially in the technical areas. So that's something else we'll talk about. However, there's also a disconnect between industry people and education because of timelines and different needs for outcomes for their training. So it takes a lot of time, honestly, to kind of work those things out and to get that understanding and be able to do things that are beneficial for both sides. We've got different measurements of success, and that's been the biggest issue as far as getting collaboration within those type of entities. And there are even problems with high schools and community colleges in articulation that don't work out. So, everybody's got their own kingdom and they don't want to, or they have their own ball and they don't want to play. So those are things that have to be worked out. So it takes time, a little bit of vision, and an understanding what the end goal is in order to go ahead and make these things work. But that would be my answer to education and other training entities outside of education. So we would love to be able to, we need to cooperate and collaborate better. But some of us aren't willing to go ahead and actually see the other side. And I'm saying that is in that. So sorry, Doug, I know you want to jump in.
No, yeah, Tom, you are so succinct and poignant on that, and so truthful. Yeah, Karen, that question I wish more people would ask so they can get the truth. One advantage I have, I used to teach college, academic dean. Been with ABC now for 23 years, so this is my third retirement or vocation.
You haven't retired yet.
Shut up. My wife still spends money. I can't.
All right, I'll mute then, Doug.
So for me, it gives me a little advantage because when you talk to educators, they speak a different language. And Tom is right, even between the K through 12 and the college system. Their objectives, their goals, their priorities are totally different. So you door and have them listen to you. So that's one area, and that's one communication. The other is between the different organizations. You have two different tracks there. On the non-union side, there's 13 different non-union training programs. They primarily get together periodically, and they have a group and communication. Some of them are different trades, some of the same trades. A lot of people think that between the union and the non-union, when it comes to education, there's a big gulf that will never be crossed. That's not necessarily true. Although there is distinct differences, they're philosophical. When you get an educator that is there for education, they don't care. The whole goal is education. So we talk, we share, because what's the goal? To get the trades educated. If people ask me if I go to the union or the non union, where am I going to get the best education? And I tell them, yes. Why? Because the training is based on the code. If you go to the union, you're going to get trained on the code. If you go to the non-union, you're going to get training based on the code. So it's the philosophical differences. Once we can overcome all this minutia, we're going to do what's best for the industry, and that is to turn out well qualified, trained, safe journeymen that can go home to their families every night with a good paycheck.
Works for me. And I just want to add that in education, our goal in any of that collaboration is just opportunity for our students.
There you go.
You know, whatever it is, we just want to go ahead and allow them to go ahead and take the next step. Sorry, I'm talking Italian and put my hands in front of the camera. We just want opportunity for our students. We want a place for them to go and to continue their training to get to that point. And that's one of those things that we talk about. So back to Doug's point, we don't care.
Right.
We just want an opportunity for the continuing education and job and employment opportunities for our students.
That was well said. I'm so bummed that we didn't have the other people on here. See what happens when you have something good to say. Dora, I would love for you to introduce yourself. We've had Doug from the ABC and Tom Fasella from College of the Canyons and Lori Bennett from Fence Factory. So we introduced ourselves and answered that question. Do we think that we have the labor to meet our construction demands? So if you would please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I am usually a pretty tech challenged person, and this conference really just hit the nail on the head for me. And so,
join the crowd.
You can see my. I can't see any. I can see you all, but anyway. I'm with a nonprofit based out of Los Angeles called the Community of Friends. We are what's known as a supportive housing developer. The work that we do is in multifamily development, all affordable, and specifically we target people who experienced homelessness and are affected by mental illness. So our apartment buildings, and I stress apartment buildings because we're not time limited. We don't run shelters or transitional housing. Everyone who moves in, even with the background that I mentioned, they have a lease. They're expected to abide by lease rules, but the rent is very affordable to them based on their income level. And we provide services in the buildings where they live so that they can gain the skills and the resources to live independently. So our services encompasses, mental health support. It could be independent living skills. I was just reading a letter from a tenant who said he learned how to cook, and so things that we forget, what I can tell you all these stories, but one of my favorite was how our tenants were really excited to check out our vacuum cleaner to vacuum their apartments because they haven't done that. I mean, they've been homeless in the streets, right? And so that was like a new thing for them. But anyway, so we have a lot of these programs in the building. So our organization does development as well as the services side, and then of course, property management and such. And we have been around for 32 years and have done quite a number of developments. And we are increasingly looking at PLA, so though we have not done a project labor agreement. My board is looking at setting goals for contracting, and the reason I'm part of this conversation is that we have been selected by the city of Ventura to do a project in the city. It's our first in the community, but it's a big one. It's 122 apartments, and it is
for veterans, right?
It's for veterans,
It's
exactly.
the veteran project, yeah.
Exactly. Half of the apartments, so 60 or so apartments, will be for veterans that have experienced homelessness, and the other half are just low-income veterans. And it will include apartments for individuals as well as for families. But it's 100% veteran community. So we're very excited. We just last week, my dates are all confused. We got our official award of tax credits from the state of California. And we are moving towards construction next year. So, we're very familiar with LA County. We developed in Orange County. We're working out in the Empire, but this is our first stint in the Ventura County. And so we've been, different employees within our organizations are involved in different areas of Ventura, and we know, labor is going to be an issue, right? In terms of who we have not selected a contractor yet. We have an architect, we have a construction manager, but we're moving in that direction. So I thought it would be good to. This is our second or third year participating in this conference, but this particular workshop was of interest. Do we have the skilled labor? I don't know because we've never developed Ventura. So, and we will not have a project labor agreement, but we are working towards establishing goals that we want our contractors to meet. Not only in terms of the percentage of contracts for MBEs and WBEs, but also the labor force and what that looks like. So that was a long introduction, but that's who we are and that's who I am. And I'm wanted to hear and listen from all of you. So
Okay. Nice. Is there the rest of you? Lori, I know you work in county a lot. Is there set requirements, or should there be, in terms of using local labor? Certain percentage. We talk about our transportation issues, and that's because everyone is living here and then being in the car and then driving somewhere else for their job. And there's people from LA that come in here to work. And then there's, I know, people from here that are going to LA, going to, Santa Clarita area, and elsewhere. If we could keep people closer, match up our labor with our needs a little bit more, maybe would improve our traffic situation as well. What kind are you on this project? Are you looking for local contractors and local labor sources? Whether, I know there's housing credits, so it's prevailing wage, or is it, the lowest price, even if they're driving in from Riverside, San Bernardino?
Are you?
Are you asking that of Dora?
Dora or Lori, because they're the ones that are kind of hiring the folks.
I wanted to mention, Dora, you had mentioned earlier, right now there's not a PLA, project labor agreement. There's also something that's very similar called a community workforce agreement, very similar. Getting back to Doug's philosophical thoughts on that, whether union, non-union, I would say that without having to sign a project labor agreement or something that specifically makes it union only, I would say that having an agreement where we do have community involvement, especially if there's public funds in it, a certain amount. And I know one of the things that we look out here now, Dora is talking about LA County, which is right next door to us, but in the tri-counties, we're a little geographically different as you go Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. I think we're kind of the island to the north, and then you have Los Angeles, Riverside, Orange County, those counties. But as far as the labor goes, you'll have a lot coming from Los Angeles up here to Ventura, and it depends on who the prime contractor is. It depends on who the subcontractors are. But if it's written in the contract that you have a certain percentage, I don't know what the laws are, anything like that, when you get into contracting and public works or state contracting codes. But as far as maybe keeping a goal of having a certain amount of local from Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and as well as veterans. You could do it for women-owned businesses. But I would say that making it open for all without having to be the signatory to other organizations, and to be able to focus on doing your job and doing it the most efficiently without adding a lot more administrative not issues, but dealings, I would say. But it is, Karen. It was a good question, and it does get to, sometimes it gets to that philosophical point that Doug has mentioned, because you have some issues with between union and non-union, which we all right here in this topic, we need to all work together no matter what.
Mhm.
I have a very unusual business model where I have a union. I do highway metal beam guardrails, penitentiary fences. You know, we do a lot of heavy engineering work on the union side. On the non-union side, I do a lot of residential. I do a lot of commercial. I even do public works, but you know, it's on a merit shop basis. So Dora, I'll leave that now to you.
Mhm.
I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, these are exactly the issues that we are. I had a call of we have a project review committee for my board of directors, and we spent half an hour talking about this because as part of our organizational racial equity work, we are looking at our own contracting processes, and it's the easiest to start with our development projects, right? And so we have when we do our own contracting, and we realize just doing preliminarily work is that you know, the workforce stuff is really a function of the general contractor. It's what do we want to require of the general contractor? And so, but before we do that, our first step is to look at our own um, the contracts that we tender because in a development project, my housing director told me as we started this work about a month and a half, 2 months ago, she said, we ourselves execute contracts, close to 30 different contracts that are outside of of the GC. But when we talk about the labor force, it is the GC and what is reasonable and I can tell you the board is interested in local hire. What is that percentage? And one of my board members worked for a very large company that you may have heard of, PCL Construction. So she was the one who was kind of guiding us in developing our own program. And she advised us that we need to kind of do our own analysis of the last 3, 4 projects to see what we've been doing before we set goals. She's like, you don't want to set a goal that's like 10% and you're already doing 25%. And that's really disingenuous. And so we want to go back and see what we've been doing the last 3 to 5 years. And then, but the thought that I can tell you, the board is interested in a percentage of local hire. And how do you define that? Is that 3 miles, 5 miles, 1 mile? In LA, 3 to 5 seems kind of ridiculous because we're so dense, right? And so, but in Ventura, we might want to say 5 miles. But you might tell me that's too little. I should need to do 10 miles. So I think it's going to depend on the community that we're in. And we would appreciate having people to talk to. We're just like, this is good. What do you guys recommend? So local hire is something we're definitely interested in pursuing. And that to me is an easy imposition on the contractor because you can easily look at the zip codes, right, to kind of figure that out. My board is also interested in like targeting hiring and like low income people who don't have college degrees, people who are foster youth, right? And we've been grappling with how you get a general contractor to give you that information because a general contractor probably doesn't even want to collect it. And are there privacy issues, right? And so if you're someone in the community that might have don't have, I don't know, may have been a foster kid, you may not know whether or not disclosing that's going to cause you the job. And so then we're thinking, well, maybe we should ask the contractor to collect that information after people are hired. Then people don't feel like their jobs are at risk. But I don't know, Doug, maybe you say we can't collect out of it. Nobody's going to want to give that information. I don't know. So like, how far can we push? And recognizing that we will only be pushing the GC, not and if he doesn't do it and he's the best contractor for the job, then so we're in the middle of all of these conversations right now. So whatever feedback I would be interested in hearing.
All right. First of all, let me say, as a 27-year Air Force vet, I commend you for doing what you're doing for the veterans. Now, quotas versus goals. You got to be realistic. Construction is transitory. We cover all of Ventura, LA, Riverside, Orange County, and San Bernardino. I've got contractors whose offices are in Palm Springs, but they do a lot of work in LA. So their workforce is all over. Construction workers travel. It's easy to say to give somebody a quota of 25%.
Mhm.
It ain't going to happen necessarily.
Mhm.
You can have a goal of 25% that you really try to make happen. But there's a difference between a quota and a goal. A
Mhm.
quota is something you force, a goal is something you strive for.
Mhm.
And there's a difference. With construction, I can understand wanting to have low income and stuff like this, but do they have the transportation to get back and forth?
Mhm.
Do they have childcare
Mhm.
so that they can come to work every day? These are things that a contractor has to look at. If they're new to the construction industry, do they meet the requirements to enter an apprenticeship program? Like, for example, all of our programs, HVAC, sheet metal, low voltage, electrical, and electronic system technician, we require a high school diploma or GED and 1 year of high school algebra or one semester of college algebra. Some low income families or people don't meet those requirements.
Mhm.
These are things, it's good to want to help. It really is. And yeah, we should all strive for that. I
Mhm.
work with people in different low income programs, and we do try to do things to help them meet those goals. But these are going to be barriers that
Mhm.
you're going to have to be able to deal with.
Mhm.
But you can't, yeah, you can't. You can do anything you want, but it's going to
So you
be
should need to we
unrealistic.
need to know what to watch out for, right?
Right,
Sure.
but it's going to be unrealistic to force this on a contractor, especially
Right.
your subs. You're going to have your GCs, but the subs are the ones that's going to have to deal
Right.
with. Is that making sense?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely. And
all right.
I wasn't thinking about the education requirement in terms of the journeyman. So that's helpful to know too.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
transportation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think when we think about transportation, I think LA focus, you normally can get to where you need to go, but Ventura probably a little bit harder.
But see, okay, you got to remember, construction isn't 9 to 5.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, yes. Earlier,
A lot of times they're on the job site at 5
6
in the
o'clock.
morning.
Yeah.
And they're working in one job site today and somewhere else next week.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's very different. Construction is a different animal
Hmm.
than anything else.
Hmm.
It really is. And then they need the tools, the safety equipment, their PPE and stuff like this. The contractor can help them
Hmm.
financially with some of that. But these are things like they can't come on a job site without their PPE,
Hmm.
their boots and gloves, their hard hats and stuff. The contractor can help with that.
Hmm.
But they're going to eventually need tools and stuff.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying it's doable with local hire, but if if we're seeking establishing goals for other types of workers, we just need to be cognizant of the challenges and maybe lower expectations of what those goals should be. But you think local hire it is reasonable to set a goal.
If I may, another way
Yeah.
to look at that, and when I taught at Los Angeles Trade Technical College,
Hmm.
we
Mm,
had similar considerations, and one of them was, we'll call them support programs, to make people,
mhm,
to allow people to qualify to be able to come into that. So that's, these are people who require more support, and how you support them, depends on their needs. But that could be transportation, it could be that
mhm,
remedial education they need to make this work. It could be, we had programs where we talked about clearing backgrounds and other
Hmm.
things to allow them to qualify to work. So if you're looking at local hires and some of the less represented people in this, you might have to look at other support programs that are ancillary to construction. Because as Doug said, you can't always just hire them off the street. You got to help them to get to that point so they're hireable.
Right.
So that's just
Right.
another thing to think
Right.
about.
You know, what I was thinking about too about this topic, do we have the skilled labor needed for the construction demand? Sitting here on both sides, no, we don't have enough. I know, for example, the laborers union, they are, you know, they're putting on a boot camp where they're trying to get as many people as possible. We have so much work going on here in our area, and I know in LA as well. I'm not familiar with San Bernardino, Riverside, but I would imagine the same thing is what was mentioned earlier. I love this whole conference that the national disasters or natural disasters, yeah, national too, they have caused a labor shortage, but it helps us get that bell ringing again. We need to get not just our secondary schools, but we need to get the middle schools back into bringing this to the forefront. And I think one of you gentlemen had mentioned it, that it is a good thing to, maybe I'm wrong with this, but it's a good thing to mention about how having construction as a profession is really a great occupation. I can just say it from the guys that work for me and myself. I never wanted to be in construction. It's my family's business. I didn't want to be here. I'm here and I love it. And for someone that can build something and see it and then drive by and show people or talk about it, that's huge. But we need to bring it to the forefront again and push not just the 6 of us here, but as many people as we can. I'm looking
You hear,
at the
Lori?
people. Yeah.
I can hear Lori.
Okay. I have actually Anthony Meyerless on the phone. So we're going to do it this way. He can't seem to get hooked up backstage with his camera, but I've got a conference call going. If any of the others want to call me, we join in on a conference call, at least have voice. Okay.
Lori, that's amazing. And I'm so happy you brought that up, because if you were going to ask me what the problem was, as Doug mentioned earlier, with getting the amount of labor necessary, I would start with image and possibilities at that young age. A study that I always quote talks about that people, by the time they're 11 years old, decide what occupation they don't want to do. They don't know what they want to do, but they don't want to do this. Ooh, I don't want to do this. And our biggest problem is that we don't have people who even think that this is an opportunity. I don't know, Doug, if these numbers are still the same, but when I was involved in this, the average age of apprentice in California was 28 years old, which also, by the way, happens to be the average age of a community college student at 28. So you think when you've got a 28-year-old apprentice, that means you've got a 32-year-old, maybe 33-year-old journeyman.
Right.
Nothing against people that age, or young guys to me now, but the point is that you're losing 10 to 15 years of productivity from that person because they didn't know that they wanted to do this, or that it was even an opportunity for them to do this. So image and marketing, if you will, or I don't know, promotion at the young age for these people is, I think, one of the primary ways that we can go ahead and increase the labor. By the way, it ain't going to happen next year because you got a 12-year-old who's got to wait 6 years before they can start to work, let's say. But it's necessary in order to build that pipeline to have these people. And to me, that's the number one thing, Lori, and I'm glad you mentioned it, is that we need to get, the 12-year-old say, gee, I want to build. And who knows what that is. And it doesn't matter if they want to be a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter, an architect, or construction manager, just as long as they know that this is an opportunity and a possibility for them. That's, I think, one of the things that could really help us out. Just for fun, 85% of the shop programs in the state of California have closed in the last 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
So,
How
and
many? 80%?
85%, and I'm sure the number is gone up. They're
Yeah.
messing with the data because they're adding things that aren't exactly shop programs. But you know, I can tell you that the number of shop programs in '95, there were 900 construction wood shop programs in the state, and I don't think we got quite 900 either. Uh, but these are the areas that gives kids opportunities to go ahead and discover and say, hey, this is cool. I really like this. I want to do that. And we don't have that opportunity, nor do they think about it until they're been doing something for 12, 13 years and go, now what?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is something I want to try. I got, you know, who knows what else I can do. And that's unfortunate because we want people to go ahead and say, this is what I like, this is what I want, and let me go ahead and take that step to that pathway to get this done. So if you know, for me and my viewpoint, getting kids interested and thinking about this as a possibility is one way to go ahead and increase our labor. So thanks for jumping in there, Lori. I was getting excited when you
So can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So with the neighbors, we've anticipated this. You know, a lot of our members, you know, were 45, 43, 10 years ago, and now they're, you know, like 10 years more. And silver tsunami's going to come. You know, everybody's going to retire. So we started an apprenticeship here back in 2001, and just in my local, we have 1,000 members. About 200 have been trained in the program. So we've been doing it that way. When we do recruiting, we were doing job fairs, and we were going to our members and then to contractors. So, you know, contractors, a lot of people go to them looking for work. They pre-interview them, and then they send them to us, and then we put them through the boot camp. So our average age is probably like 23 to 24.
Good number.
We've lowered it down, but we were also going after the youngsters, 18 and 19, to get them on to the boot camps and come and become members. One thing too, within the last 5 years, I became a workforce development board member, and we're trying to get more of the grants. And we were successful in getting a grant for SB1 funds, and we're going to start a pre-apprenticeship there's many of them in LA and many of them in Northern California, and this will be the first one here. So we're going to be targeting justice-involved women, vets, disadvantaged youth, foster kids, and bring them in through these programs. And they'll run like 6 weeks at a time. Then there'll be at the end of the program an orientation for them to decide which union they're going to go to. And we're going to continue to do that. Our goal is to do that in almost with Oxnard, Ventura, all the cities here in the county, and then go from there. I was talking with Lisa, the same thing. What we can do is develop these kids and then encourage them to become our future contractors.
Right.
We need future contractors, especially if they came from the trade or skilled, and they can scale themselves up. I have a perfect example. One of my kids, he's a DACA kid. He's probably like 28, 29 now, but he came in at like 19, and he went to the apprenticeship, left, started his own landscape company, continued to talk to me about becoming a union contractor. We got him on board, and then now he's working as a subcontractor on some of the freeways around here, some of our big contractors, and that's how we have to encourage our future contractors. You know, if he still just wanted to just become a contractor and he wasn't going to be signatory, we still would have guided him in the right way, which he needed to be. So that's what we've anticipated, and what we're going to continue to do. The local hire that you guys talked about, we were successful on the Oxnard High School District last 10 jobs.
Yeah.
We put 241 local residents to work. A big portion were Oxnard. I don't have the data in front of me. We did a multiplier effect, and we had $17 million in payroll that was collected, and then we did about another $4 and $6 million in spending locally with the small mom and pops. And of course, we had taxes to that for the county. But we can reach those goals, especially in this. Ventura County is different than LA. I mean, just to get a job, to drive to LA is an hour, with traffic, and so we would like to see the work stay here local, and then replenish our workers with the workers here. And have you seen the unemployment numbers? There's 17,000 workers. It's only been a 1% change from last year, unemployed, and from the construction industry. So they're there. We just gotta get there and get them, and then retrain them.
Anthony, I got a question for you. As far as your reach or outreach from your trade or all of the building trades here, have you set something up with the elementary schools or middle schools?
We're gonna. I know the carpenters have done it. They have something at the high school, and then I just talked to the superintendent. Had a meeting with him. He's talking about taking some of the auto shops, turning them to welding shops, turning some of the ones at Rio Mesa into construction trades. So we're gonna start talking about the apprenticeship programs using the MC3 training, which is required by the state in order to get grant funds. But that's what we're looking at, and like I said, we're going to do that to create the next workforce subcontractors. Because we need to, with the next 10 years of building and infrastructure investments here, including green construction, energy efficiency, the transition, and depending on who becomes our next president, we're going to need thousands of workers still here to fill these jobs. There's about $9 billion of work that's going to be let out with the different water agencies, the cities, the schools, and then of course our university, St. Channel Islands, will be growing.
But nothing specifically for elementary or the middle schools?
The middle schools, not yet. I was talking to one of the contractors association about starting something like that. We are talking about possibly doing an after-school program, maybe for middle school kids, and we're still in talks with that. And once we get that going, we'll have an after-school program, and then possibly Saturday classes and training.
That's an idea.
There's a program I know just started in Fillmore with one of the nonprofits, and the kids are from 18 to 24. That just started with a nonprofit that I was talking to last week.
There is a question in our box here about what kind of training is in in high school, elementary high school age in Ventura County. And I know Oxnard High School District has been really good about that, with their ACE charter school and things like that. I was so happy quite a few years ago when VCOE, Lisa, this is your area here, when they started doing a lot of that training through VCOE. Are they doing anything now? Are they have plans to bring it back? Lisa, especially if there's any other programs happening like ACE Charter in any of the other districts?
Daniel Bell up in Thousand Oaks has a really, are you getting feedback?
Yeah, but you're fine.
Okay. Daniel Bell in Thousand Oaks has a great program. He's a general contractor. He teaches construction, not just wood shop. And he's been really great at rallying all the other teachers in the area to try to get them up to speed and basically kind of update their classes. But yeah, just as Tom said, education has their metrics by which they need to meet, and when they're cutting programs, that's typically one of the first ones to go.
One of the things that people don't realize when it comes to problems with education and including and building these programs is the lack of trained teachers and trained instructors in that area. we had 9 programs in the state colleges that provided teacher training. We have 1 now in the entire state. That tells you that we obviously as a state and college system didn't look at this as a priority. But even the teachers that we are getting, the ones who are coming in vocational training or straight from industry, the attrition rate is unbelievable. And you know that if you continue to have turnover with instructors, you just don't quite get the continuity or the program. So if you're looking for a way or something to kind of get something started within the school system, you have to at least address or look at the teacher and the teacher shortage or the teacher preparation. There are lots of ways that people have done this before with other industry people and other ways, but it's still something that people don't address. They say, hey, we're going to start a program. We have all this money. And I know of multiple programs that never quite got off the ground or fizzled because they didn't look at that as the very first thing. They had a labor shortage and they couldn't fill that, and they lost the job. So it's another consideration when it comes to trying to make a change in the educational field is where do you get the teacher and the quality of that instructor?
To me, not only being a mom of 3 kids, but being a kid at one point and always liking more outdoor kind of things, those hands-on experiences with actual contractors, whether it's a summer camp program, whether it's a internship type of thing, those are invaluable to not only excite a person, but find out what's possible and
Sure.
That, hey, this isn't so bad. I like this. So I'm wondering, people like some of our housing developers and Fence Factory and some of our other contractors out there, being able to put together some of these collaboration programs. I know you did. Lori, talk about one a couple summers ago that you did with the little tiny homes for Riverhaven.
We've had a girls' construction camp, and it started out being we had done it for 10 years. This is the first year that we haven't done it here, but I've been very fortunate to be able to bring in our local union contractors and employees that have come to help us out, side by side. So we've got the construction industry together for this one camp. It's a 1-week camp. It's not a, whole big thing that a lot of people know about, but it's enough that we've got, 25, 30 girls. Now we've included middle school girls too. And so to the point to where now we've got 4 and 5 year, oh, my dog just came out. We got 4 and 5 year returning, young ladies that come back every year. And Daniel Bell, who Lisa was talking about, is our instructor. But we've had a journey woman, carpenter, who has helped us every year as well. She is now retired as Beryl from the Carpenters Union here. But we've had just amazing luck. We've got a couple of laborers. I've had quite a few of my employees come over that are highly skilled and trained. They know how to operate equipment. They know the basis of construction. They don't know everything that all the other trades do, but they're out there operating, these skid steers and backhoes, and the girls just love it. They get on there and just they dig, they operate. They get on these articulating lifts, these sky reaches. Hold on just a second here, Mom. Sorry about that. I work out of my mom.
Hi, Mom.
I work out of my mom.
It's a family business. That's okay, Lori.
Too funny.
Okay.
No, it's not my business. All right. So
That's precious.
She's brought me my snack for the day. Now I feel really.
Oh,
What a blessing.
Did you take a nap?
I'm getting red now. First, my dog comes out of the bathroom, and now my mom.
my God.
What happens when you have filters? You can hide all that. So my point is that if we can have community, then one thing I wanted to see what Anthony's thought was on this, or even if Anthony, or even if Mercy is on, to see if we could have that collaboration, with openness with the local unions, with the Ventura County Contractor Association, with our school districts, with the college district, and together as one, not not these little silos over here, here, and here, but to get together as one with respect, because we have a heck of a lot of knowledge to impart, especially coming from the union side, because they have such a well-built and well-oiled machine in their training programs. And I know Doug and Tom, talking with you and listening to you and learning more about your organizations and the things that you've done, gives me hope, because we can have more of that in Ventura County.
Yeah. Lori, that's the thing. We have been doing the very same thing pre-COVID. NAWIC, National Association for Women in Construction.
Yep.
We've hosted them for years in a summer camp for young ladies, week long, 30 to 40 young women. We get trades women that put on the different trades and everything else. We do that. We bring high schoolers and junior high students, people from
Okay.
There you go. I noticed the orange. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, same thing. We bring the students into our facility. We do hands-on exposure to the different trades. I go out and talk to them and explain to them what's the advantages for the trades. We do all that. Yeah, so we're all doing the same thing. But what I look at it is planting seeds. You would be amazed at the number of students that come into our program, and I say, well, where did you hear about ABC? Well, you don't. You should remember me, because 8 years ago you came to my high school. You did a presentation, and here I am. And I said, yeah, you sat in the front row, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
But you never know what when that seed will sprout and grow. But that's what we do. All of us, we plant seeds, and one day they will mature. So if you touch 50 people and you get one 5 years later, well, that's going to grow and grow and grow. And that's what we do. Now, I know we're wrapping up real quick. And the whole thing is, do we need skilled workers? Yes. Why? Okay. 2008, what happened?
Yeah.
Construction and everything else went to the heck. A lot of people lost their jobs. Construction took a big hit.
Yes.
And a lot of those people never returned to the industry. It left a void. Now, there was a Berkeley study that showed from 2009 to 2018, the housing industry increased 430%, but the number of construction work
It's too bad.
that is a major
Say that
gap.
again, Doug. You froze up. What was the
Okay, it was a Berkeley
labor?
study.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 2009 to 2018. The housing construction permits increased 430%. Construction labor input only increased 32%. So only 32% labor increase during that same period of time. So the building needs have increased, but the number of workers has not. So that's another part of the need. Now, during that time period where we are today, everybody's still preaching, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. We know that only 25% of those who start college will finish in 4 years. They finish, and what happens? They can't get a job. So what do? They automatically go in and get their master's. They still can't get a job. So now they have all this debt. They can't afford to go for their
Absolutely.
doctorate. So they're driving Ubers or working at Burger King or Starbucks.
Yeah.
They have all this debt, making no money. Then another 5 years later, they hear about us, the construction industry. And they say, wow, why didn't I do this 10, 15 years ago?
Which is why
You
they're
would be
coming in at
amazed.
28.
Yeah, you would be amazed at the number of apprentices that come in that have college degrees.
Yeah.
Why? Because they finally hear about it, or they've been working in industry of some sort and they're not happy. Now, for the first time in their life, they're doing something that brings them the satisfaction. They hear about the advantages, just like females. We all, I know, try to get more females in our program. It's not a glamorous job until they find out how much money they can make. Okay. Like people think of plumbing, and it's a terrible, dirty job. And I tell them, if you're working on a weekend and you're making $130 an hour, you know how much perfume and soap you can buy for that? This is a true story. Just 3 months ago, a valve in my shower went out. I called a plumber. It was one of our members. Guy came in 2 hours later. He was gone. $372 later for 2 hours work on a Saturday. I'm in the wrong profession, okay? So
It's all that overhead. Just kidding.
yeah, I know.
It is all that overhead.
It's all of our insurance and all that stuff. This is a great, Karen, I just have to tell you, even though we could go on for a long time here, and there's more to discuss, obviously, but we do have, we need more skilled labor because my guys are getting older. I'm not replacing them with the younger guys. So we all have that same problem. So we should all work together, but this is a great conference.
Yeah.
You know, I had thought when I was talking to Lisa about this, you know, money seems to move things forward sometimes. And, you know, I'm assuming a lot of programs are either siloed because of their funding source rather than bring together, or start because of a consistency in the funding. So if there was a consistent built, developed funding source for training, for instance, through a 501c3 like home, having a separate fund that we could get grants, we could get maybe developers to contribute to, associations and union or whatever, and disperse this money to different training programs at the different age levels, camps and things like that. Would that at least help move some of these programs forward, maybe some greater collaboration, maybe somebody like COE wouldn't start and stop, and they can continue doing some of this and encouraging people to go into more of the trades.
You know,
Well,
it can't hurt. I'll tell you that much.
Everything just out then 2
I don't know
years
who's
ago,
talking about
college
that.
did a residential training program up in Ohio. I went up there, there was 6 individuals in it, and then the following year they did a solar project program. They moved it to Fillmore. Then last year, nothing. It's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
But like you said, we could have a fund that everybody pays into, or it's offside or something, and we could start from the elementary to middle school to move it all the way to the top end of the need for construction workers and project managers. That would work. That's kind of how we do it with labor management for our apprenticeship. We take it out of a couple cents out of the hourly, and it goes into our trust funds. And then from there, we've developed the training programs we have globally in different counties.
Yeah. And even using that labor on small practical projects, like what, River Haven, when you're building little transitional homes for the homeless, or, Habitat still has a wonderful model, and being able to use some of this apprentice training kind of labor, give them some practical experience, actually building something that is going to be a benefit and a value to the community.
Yeah, what we've done is all the courtyards at Cal State Channel Islands, by 2001 to 2010, we used it for the place to do hands-on training, and we just got back there a month ago. But before that, we were doing the National Dog Training Center in Santa Paula. We done a lot of stuff at the fairground. We parking lots for nonprofits. So yeah, anytime we get hands-on, I know the carpenters do a lot of.
Well, good.
I don't know how much time we have left.
Yeah.
I think
We've
we're
got about 8
over
minutes.
time now.
I
8
thought
We've
minutes?
got about 8 minutes
I
here.
thought we wrapped at 1:45. No?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we did. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. How wonderful our discussion has been.
Okay.
Okay, hey, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to follow up with all of you, and we will put our heads together and maybe meet again real soon.
Yeah, and some of you might hear from
Hey,
our organization
Lisa.
next year.
Yeah, a little easier.
Lisa, you said this is being taped?
Yes, it is. I'll get that out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, you guys. We will talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right.
You'll hear
Take
us
care.
from
All right, bye-bye.